The buyers at BlackRock, the owners at BlackRock, are never ever going to sell their Bitcoin, right? Yeah, they might trade a little bit, but they're never ever going to sell their Bitcoin. ETFs are passive holding assets. So the more Bitcoin that can actually be shoved into BlackRock, right, the better it is for the long term of this cycle, because though that Bitcoin will never ever see the light of day. So buckle up, right? Tighten up your asshole, right? Squeeze it a little bit, right? Feel your gonads and understand that a 10% drop in Bitcoin is nothing. GBTC is out here dumping tons of Bitcoin, and I can't, look at the numbers of what's going on here, and then we're going to talk about a little conspiracy theory, a little Bitcoin conspiracy theory that, I don't know how true it is, but I got a sneaky feeling, because I don't think anyone can be that stupid. That's just it. Like, I'm just using the method of reducing down who can be stupid and to what extent can someone be stupid, and I've got to a little conspiracy theory. But before that, there's 14 trading sessions between now and the halving, right? GBTC, based on the current trend, will have dumped an additional 61,000 Bitcoin onto the market by the halving. So that means they'll have 290,000 Bitcoin remaining. And if they are going to be completely zeroed out, that is 60 sessions, 60 trading sessions, and GBTC will be completely and utterly out of Bitcoin. That takes us to July 5th, right? That takes us to July 5th. And of course, it's never going to be the case that they're going to go down to zero, because there's always going to be some people that just can't sell, like my parents. My parents can't sell their GBTC because in the UK you can't get access to American ETFs. So therefore, selling their GBTC will put them in a bad place. So they're not going to sell their GBTC. So there's going to be a certain amount of people like that. So I would say we've probably got about 35 to 45 trading sessions at this pace that GBTC is going, in order to be completely at the point where they just can't sell any more Bitcoin. And yeah, that's it. Look, at the end of the day, when selling pressure like this is happening, this is good for Bitcoin. And I'm really only talking to the people whose first cycle it is, who are now sort of panicking about a 7 to 10% drop in Bitcoin. This is completely and utterly normal, and you've got to grow a pair of balls and join and become a fan of the gonadal model in order to understand that, or in order to get through this, because this is what Bitcoin does. Just when Bitcoin will teach you a lesson, right? The rest of us, remember, I came in quote unquote late into Bitcoin. I've been through 5,000 to 64,000 to 34,000 to 69,000 to 15,500 to 74,000. Right? You've got to get used to it. You either get used to the volatility or you get out the asset. And if you've not got, or if you're shitting yourself at this point, there is an argument that you've allocated too much, right? You've bought too much of the asset if you're now shitting yourself and not understanding that this is natural process for this asset. So look, we got the highest monthly close. You got Grayscale dumping out of it. And here's my conspiracy theory on what's going on with Grayscale. Because you sit there and you think about it and you go, who could be this stupid, right? Like, who could be so stupid where you're the CEO of a company that manages assets. You have fought your entire career, right? You have fought your entire career to bring an ETF to fruition because the Bitcoin community deserves it, and you are the company that's the pioneer because you are the first one. You succeed at that, and then you proceed to stay quiet and let 50% of your assets just get wiped out. Who is stupid enough to do that? So that makes me go, okay, I can't imagine a reality where they are that stupid in order to allow that to happen. So then I have to start reducing backwards. Like, what else could be happening here, right? And here's what I'm thinking. This is a little bit of a conspiracy theory thinking, but here's what I'm thinking. BlackRock has known that it was going to get into Bitcoin since 2017. There's studies that we've seen, everything like that. So what would stop a $10 trillion asset manager buying up GBTC at a 40% discount, 35% discount, 30% discount in the last bear market, and just buying it up and buying it up and buying it up and buying it up and buying it up, knowing that one day they are going to transfer that Bitcoin from GBTC straight into their own ETF. Sounds pretty plausible. The only issue is you would have to tell the SEC that you were doing that, and it would be a part of your filing. So then you'd probably have to use entities that nobody knew, that weren't subject to filing, or you would have to get your clients to do it and then move your clients over to your own fund after that's happened. Now again, this is all conspiracy thinking here, right? I want you to bear that in mind. But that kind of makes sense. It also makes sense in that scenario because what other reason does Grayscale have to not lower the fees, right? If you know, if you sat down in a meeting, right, and you got Barry, Larry, and Gary, right? Barry, Larry, Gary, and they're all sitting around the table, and Gary's like, "Listen, you've been a pain in my ass, right? So you're about to get fired because you've been a pain in my ass. I'm gonna skip the prison sentence for the apparent fraud that there is here, right?" And then Larry chimes in and says, "Hey Gary." So damn confusing. "Hey Gary, why don't we do a deal here that will make everyone happy because we're the best custodian in the world for assets. I think what we're gonna do is let Barry know that we own 75% of that fund through these various entities. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna slowly transfer those assets because you're refusing to allow an in-kind product because that would have been the easiest way to do it. So we're going to move some of those assets slowly but surely in the market over time to our product once it launches." And Gary says, "That's kind of interesting. And Barry, I need you to keep the fees high so that there's no competition over here," right? And he's stroking his cat, obviously, right? Like the Godfather. Again, all entertainment, mental masturbation, conspiracy theories here that we're talking about. But it is kind of the only reason why GBTC would not lower their fees. Because you get a piece of paper that says, shit, BlackRock owns 75% of this fund and they're about to move it no matter what. Well, there's no point in us reducing our fees yet because they're going to move it anyway. So we might as well milk them for every dollar that they have in fees for as long as it takes for them to move it without disrupting the market. It's the only logical thing that I can think of. Everything else doesn't make any sense. Everything else just sounds stupid. If I was sitting there and I was a shareholder of Grayscale, I was an investor in Grayscale, I'd be looking at them going, what the flying fuck are you guys doing here? Because none of this makes any sense. So that's what I think is going on if I was a conspiracy theorist. There is, some kind of deal, some kind of something that's happened here, and GBTC is basically being forced to bleed out into the open market. And again, they haven't got long to go, right? If they continue, by July 5th at the latest, they'll be at 0 Bitcoin. So that would be good because then we can continue up. Now, here's why this is good, right? A lot of people will be like, "Oh my God, that's so bad." Here's why it's good. Because if you are now in this market right now and you're experiencing 10% dips, there are people that have been in the market way longer than you, that have had to experience way more dips than you, to allow you to come here and experience dips of 10% and try and panic. To have the privilege of trying to panic at a 10% dip. There are people in this game that have sat through 40, 50% dips, 60% dips, 80, 90% dips, and still held on. So reach down, grab your gonads in your hand, tighten your asshole, and understand that this is what happens to Bitcoin in a bull market. You are going to see dips. You are going to see Bitcoin come down. You're going to see flushing out of people. And here's the interesting thing that I'll leave you with. Most of these dips are being caused by leverage long liquidations, not by GBTC selling. So do some thinking around that, because here's why I'm saying that's important, because I think that GBTC selling is going directly into the BlackRock product here. So, or the majority of it anyway. So that's what I think is happening here. get your balls together, stop, panicking. I'm having so many questions about people going, oh my God, what's going on here? You bought late, that's why you're panicking, right? Firstly. Secondly, get with the program, understand what the asset is, understand what you got to do here, and what you have to do here is just hold. The hardest thing you got to do is take your hands, put them under your butt cheeks, squeeze tight, and leave them there. That's it. You don't have to do anything. This is going to take care of itself, and we're going to be having a different conversation, I believe, by about May 7th. So stop panicking, and I've got people interrupting me, and it's kind of crazy right now. But I want you to realize this is all normal process. It's all normal process. Stick with the program. You hodl. Hold on for dear life. That's what that stands for. And yeah, we'll come out on the other side, and we'll be having a very, very interesting conversation by May 7th, which is 4 weeks away. So, and right now is your last chance to get to 1 Bitcoin with this halving dip that's happening. It's all normal here. And you got one last chance before we start pricing out low single-digit millionaires. On that note, remember, there's always, no matter how much it crashes, there's always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, you shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.